The Jarldoms of Skjoldbrdir is a Valdic nation-state holding vast amounts of territory and lands within Foros and Plegos. Skjoldbrdir is known for its hardness and passion of its people, who are always looking to have some fun whenever it's possible, ranging from large parties in the glamorous mead halls encrusted with gold, or bursts of adrenaline from the glory of raiding and bloodthirsty looting. The main language of Skjoldbrdir is Northern Valdic, a dialect of wider Valdic language. Northern Valdic began its split off from the Greater Valdic language soon after the founding of Skjoldbrdir, only fully being recognized as a new dialect in the year 39 AL. After the colonization of Eldom, a newer religion was needed for the Northern Valdic people of Skjoldbrdir. This task was given to Balloon Dwarf 718, the Grand Shaman of Skjoldbrdir. The existence of Eldom directly contradicted theology of the Gnostiker faith, practiced by most Valdic people until this point. This led to a complete split with the theology of old and the creation of new faith, named Nir Gnostiker. The tale of Skjoldbrdir starts with a young man named Akon Kolbeck, who had a lust for knowledge and a growing ambition to be more than a simple Valdic hunter. As Akon Kolbeck grew older, he became curious about the history of the Valdics of old, and the many petty Jarldoms that came before. As Akon searched for more wisdom within the library of Earthvald, he came upon an ancient saga that told of a Jarldom called Lavdreha. The people there fled north to find a new life that would be free from the constant infighting that left them poor and raggedy. Their lands became infertile, which resulted in starvation and death. The saga later explains how they found eternal riches and endless fertile land that stretched beyond their wildest dreams. Seeing the words of this saga set his mind and will into a burning inferno of curiosity, Akon thought to himself, how have I not heard of this saga before, and why have we not heard from Lavdreha since? But that would have to wait, as Akon recruited the likes of Clufi, Easy 8, Hygian, Rural Wolf, and Ghoul for the voyage to the north. These 5 men would become the founders of Skjoldbrdir. They would go on to found the first town of Skjold, called Ustakol, which was a small but quaint town isolated from the rest of the world. On the 21st of February 2021, the island nation of Skjoldbrdir was born. Shortly after the ice melted from the frozen winter of the Shattered Sea, large warships were seen upon the horizon, flying the banner of a dandelion. The soldiers were heavily armed and well disciplined. Upon arrival, their leader gave the 5 founding members of Skjoldbrdir an ultimatum: be crushed and slaughtered under the heel of Bardonia, or join them. Hesitantly, Akon kneeled, knowing if he did not, he and his people would be killed. The 4 that were with Akon trusted his decision and knelt with their high Jarl, sensing that they could learn from these foreign warriors. A few years later, after the fall of the Chancellor, Skjoldbrdir regained its independence and its freedom. Skjoldbrdir looked to its south at the prospect of creating alliances and sowing new land into the stitchwork of its nation. All eyes turned to Nova Roma, a nation which was known to Skjoldbrdir to be lacking active citizens. Skjoldbrdir's leader, Akon, heard the anxiousness in his people's voices and decided to claim Nova Roma as his own. He could do this in one of 2 ways. He could raise a levy of Carls and have them fight as Simthiki in order to conquer the land by force. This would appease his people, as they were ready to die for Skjoldbrdir at any time, but this would also decrease the international opinion of Skjoldbrdir. They could not be seen just as savages who fought for more land every chance that they got, so he turned to his second plan. Through diplomacy and the one true power of the land, which is money, he would buy the whole nation of Nova Roma, and with this plan, he would preserve his public image and negotiate a peaceful solution to the question of Nova Roma. Akon ended up paying 30,000 for Nova Roma and remarked to the trade, saying, quote, all of Nova Roma has been sold to Skjoldbrdir for 30,000. This is a legitimate purchase and has been documented in a book signed by both leaders, Akon, the High Jarl of Skjoldbrdir, and Cosmetic Elephant, the leader of Nova Roma. All the land of Nova Roma is now part of Skjoldbrdir. The integration of Nova Roma is still ongoing to this day, as the purchase was negotiated on May 9, 2021. Cosmetic Elephant became the first Jarl, as he was a past leader of Nova Roma, set as an overseer of the Jarldom of Veneto. The Jarldoms of Vilhorn and Narva would also be established, with Balloon Dwarf 718 and Easy E8 as the Jarls of each. After the discovery of land east of Skjoldbrdir, settlers were sent out to claim land for the High Jarl. After a few years, Skjoldbrdir would more than double its total size with the newly acquired colonial possessions. Skjoldbrodir's Eldom holdings are right in the middle of the map near Lemuria and Regnum Drakes, in the continent of Foros. After months of searching, the location for modern-day Steinborg had been chosen. Steinborg got its name from its rocky mountainous terrain. This grand citadel was to be given to the Jarl Pippo in Alfuna, who chose Sir Brestic of the Pot to be Thane of Steinborg. Steinborg had constantly been under construction, although it came to a swift halt when Grassel died, who was a head architect and High Thane of Skjoldbrdir. Skjoldbrdir, now settled heavily in Eldom, started a period of diplomacy trying to reach nations across the water and land borders. The people of Skjold discovered an unusual neighbor. These neighbors were covered in fur and had long tails. Their arms reached for nearby branches. This people had a massive claim over Skjold's area, including Rednum Drakes, Tirithur, and more. Skjoldbrdir, in its search of friends and treaties, came across two nations, Jurkind and Rednum Drakes. These two nations would be the source of the start of the conflict. Aekon, the High Jarl, contacted Regnum, while Gracioso, the High Thane, contacted Jurkind. The two relations prospered as both nations agreed to sign an alliance, making the two nations officially friends. Soon after the signing of the treaty, Regnum gave Skjoldbrdir information about Lemuria cutting trade routes and the possible interest of invading the three nations. Some time had passed and the horror begun. Lemurian forces attacked Jurkind and threatened them to give away their land. After that, Skjold saw Lemuria as a threat and began prepping for war. The time came. Diplomats from Skjold reached the Lemurian capital with a declaration of war. The conflict started, and peace or surrender was not an option. This declaration caused a national repercussion mostly for Skjold, as secret pacts from other nations with Lemuria came to light, making them stronger. Things got worse when Skjold's supposed ally Regnum Drakes remained neutral in the conflict. Drums could be heard in the nearby dense jungles of the Lemurian capital. Skjoldbrdir forces, with the help of some mercenaries and allies, rushed to the gates to start the fight. The front lines refused to budge in either direction. The final result of the battle was a draw, as both sides were unable to push each other out and claim a decisive victory. Exhausted after a long fight, Skjold now understood the true strength of the Lemurians. Each side knew that they had to do whatever it took to win the next battle. Skjold refused to lose or surrender. Before the second battle, Gracioso and the Jarls made diplomatic relations across the world. Skjoldbrdir was able to gather a great army of friends and allies. This task turned out rather easy as a plethora of nations didn't like Lemuria and decided to help Skjoldbrdir in this war. For the second battle, Skjoldbrdir forces were defending Steinborg, which was the biggest city at that time. The battle started and the Lemurians along with their allies came from the east. As time passed, Lemurian forces eventually entered the city. What followed could only be described as a massacre of Lemurians. After many deaths, the Lemurians were routed out of Steinborg and the final push was made by the Skjoldbrdir forces. The front lines were pushed back to the Lemurian capital, in which the slaughter continued. This led to a decisive end to the war. Upon the end of the battle, the Lemurians attempted to sell their land to the Imperial Archonate of Viodaxa, who in the end would simply give the land back to Skjoldbrdir. Before abandoning their homeland, the Lemurians destroyed their ancient capital so it wouldn't fall into the hands of the Valdic people. Having found the ruins of the city, Jarl Balloondorf 718 founded the resort city of Ruddersdam, a modern settlement where one can indulge in the deepest desires. From the ruins of Lemuria, the Jarldom Alfuna was expanded and the Jarldom of Nir Vilhorn was founded. As the Empire Plagathia began to collapse from the war with the Skittles alliance, the province of Eden became an independent state. However, its king, Apollonier, wished not to be dragged into the brutality of war. Instead, he chose to join Skjoldbrdir as a Jarldom. Though he could have rejoined the Second Empire Plagathia upon its founding, he instead decided to stay, having a more cultural connection to Skjoldbrdir. After the Lemurian War, the Lemur folk fled to the island of Zamots. There, along with other nations on the island, they would all form the Zamots Union. However, the Lemurians never forgot the war they had lost and the shame that they felt. Their hatred of Skjoldbrdir grew daily as they dwelled on their thoughts. Eventually, on the 8th of October 2021, the Zamots Union declared war on Skjoldbrdir and its allies. The Lemurians wished to seize Skjoldbrdir's western lands and install a puppet state to rule. A battle would take place at the fortress of Hefnaheim that would declare the Zamots Union as the victor. Many rules were broken, so the two sides would enter negotiations. It was decided that Skjoldbrdir would pay a large sum to Zamots, and in return, the Entente would sign non-aggression pacts with Skjoldbrdir. Not long after the war, Skjoldbrdir would join the Sapphire Commonwealth in order to tighten its relations with its allies. After their war with Zamots, Skjoldbrdir moved back into a position of peace and stability. It was decided that war, for the time being, would not be a good solution to its current standing. Skjold now sought to increase its internal holdings with new building projects and an increase in recruitment. Hello everyone, thank you for watching the video. I hope that you did enjoy it. As always, if you need to get in contact with me, you can check the link below in the description to join my Discord. There you can make any kind of nation advert requests or any kind of video specific, or even if you just want to get in touch with me and just chat. So definitely click the link below. Again, thank you all for all the love, and we are coming up on 1,000 subscribers, and so really thank you so much for the huge milestone. I appreciate each and every single one of you. Other than that, hope you all have a great day, and thanks again.